Angela Fazio is an industry powerhouse who has overseen 40,000 homes sold and $9 billion in production. And Kristen Cantrell is one of the nation's most accomplished team leaders, helping thousands of agents build their businesses. They are passionate about educating, encouraging, and empowering moms in real estate. Our next episode starts now.
Hey everyone, welcome to Moms in Real Estate. I'm Angela Fazio.
And I'm Kristen Cantrell, and today our guest is Ginny Jensen from Montana.
Billings, Montana. I want to go there so bad,
So
Ginny.
do I.
I want to.
So do I.
And today we're going to be talking about, I think, a fantastic topic that a lot of women have, and we're going to be real transparent about it. It's the battle of having to take the back seat when it comes to your career because maybe your partner or your husband is the primary breadwinner, and what does that look like for someone who has huge drive and ambition? So, Ginny, welcome to our show. Thank you so much for spending time with us today, and get us started by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I started in real estate in 2004 after my realtor at the time stalked me for 3 or 4 years trying to get me into the business. And my first comment to him was, I don't want to do sales. I was disgusted by that and quickly realized that it's more about connecting with people than it is about sales. But my main goal when he brought me on was to make enough money to make the car payment. That was the main goal. And so it's funny to look back how things have expanded and exploded. And my job with my marriage and family is to be the CEO of the family, and so have had a continuous struggle with my career in first starting out not having children in real estate. So I was able to really bust through and get things started, and then moving on to having kids while I was trying to do real estate, and now my kids are 14 and 15, and so my career has evolved. My roles as a wife and mom have evolved, and looking at what that means for what I'm doing in real estate and how that relates. So,
yeah, I'm excited to talk about this topic because you're a driver. you're a woman with great ambitions, and Kristen, you and I, we have a little drive.
A little bit.
So this resonates with us. This topic of having this great desire to do big things, and whether it's being your career being in the backseat because your husband's the breadwinner, or your career being in the backseat because you have a bunch of kids running around at home, it's still a thing that I think a lot of women go through. So I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah, and I think and to different extents too. Even tying in like the mom guilt. Like, we are the CEO of the house, and when we aren't there, we feel this guilt, even though we want to be the best at both things. So I think it's a really great thing that you are going to be talking about that.
Well, I call it a pendulum swing, because whenever I'm visiting with young moms or other moms about the struggle that you have, I feel like if you're being a good realtor, you're not being a good mom, and vice versa. So it's always swinging, and you're always trying to find that balance. So that's
one of our guests, Michelle Colbert, says that balance is bullshit.
She sure does.
Which we 100% agree, and I think you probably do too.
I agree. I do agree. In fact, I've spent the last year with a real estate coach in, frankly, figuring that out, that balance is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep, I like it. It's true for me.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
I think that, Ginny, and I want to know your thoughts about this. Your kids are 14 and 15, and because I'm a problem solver. Like, in my mind, I have 6 kids, but in my mind, I would be like, okay, so wait, they're 14 and 15, and I have 3 or 4 or 5 more years until they're in the house and, whatever. Okay, you know what?
Yep.
We're going to start a new chapter in the family life. It's called independence. So we're going to create a 4-year plan to make our kids completely independent. Hey, honey, are you on board with this? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, Ginny. So we start with they make their own dinners, and I'm making that up, but that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and in fact, that's just sort of how life has evolved, right? Because if you're out showing, or if you have a meeting in the middle of dinner hour, which is usually when things like that fall, then things do go to your kids and your spouse and that sort of thing. So I think that life has naturally delegated these roles to my family, which is a blessing too. So
That's for sure. So talk to us just a little bit about how you're mentally managing this desire to like just blow it up and your season in life right now.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a daily struggle, I would say, to recognize that, kind of, I always call it triage. That triage, my main purpose is for my husband and my kids. So evaluating on a daily basis what my priority is there, and then trying to fit and schedule my life around and my career around that. So if I look at my daily schedule, I first look at what my family is doing that day, and then any requests are for showings or for meetings or anything like that are scheduled in around there. One thing that I need to do more of would be to schedule just dead time, just me time.
Yeah.
You time. Yeah, you have to.
Let's talk about that. I suck at that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I do too. But I have mastered I have a comment to, whether it's clients or anyone requesting something where I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or I need to be with my family. I'll just say I've got a commitment, and I find myself maybe scheduling something, but giving a buffer of 30 minutes or maybe an hour before or after those times in order to kind of group the me time into there as well. So
yeah, I think one thing I always go back to is like pre-planning your calendar. And when you're pre-planning your calendar, you're putting in the date nights, you're putting in the sports, you're putting in, and that's where you're like, hey, pedicure, massage, or whatever it is that's you time, hiking. But having that pre-planned so that you don't have to all of a sudden be like, oh, like I haven't done anything in so long.
And getting cranky about it because
you get all salty.
Yeah.
You do. I definitely do. But, as time has evolved too, it's easier to recognize how you feel when you schedule that time. And I'm a better mom because I work, because I, have a different outlet too. I'm a better spouse as well.
Yep, I agree. I actually got salty with my husband last night. I said, you're making lunches tonight for tomorrow. And he looked at me and he goes, you say it like I never do it. I'm like, okay, you've done it like 3 times. I'm like, and it's only if I ask. But, like we do. We have all the things of checking homework, doing homework, making lunches, making dinners. Like, it's a lot, and sometimes we crack. At least I do.
Well, that's interesting because I think it's easy for us to be the CEO and boss of our business and delegating things, but when it comes to the delegation of the family piece, it becomes a challenge because we feel guilty.
True.
So that's interesting because my husband would do anything that I delegated him to do without question.
But you have to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I have to say it, and I feel guilty for saying it, and then you get upset because they don't recognize that. But it's funny how the delegation part of business comes easy, but when it comes to delegating the family relationship part, that really becomes a challenge.
I think it's because, and I'm getting less guilty of this with age, but I think that I start to wrap some of who I think I am and my worth in tasks, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't fill in the blank, then I'm not being the type of person I'm supposed to be being, or, you know, wrapping my identity in stupid tasks.
And
right?
making sandwiches.
And making
Oh, yeah.
sandwiches. Or,
Absolutely.
yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just eating it. Yeah.
And that's a self-imposed thing because, you know, it's my husband and I have, listen, I am stupid blessed, right? He cooks, I don't. You know, we've got all this kind of role reversal stuff in some ways, but I still I have no right to get angry about something that I'm not communicating.
Oh my gosh, I think if somebody said your number one, like what would be your like number one advice when you get married? I think that something that took me so long, and I still struggle with this, is if he is not a mind reader, and
Right.
he doesn't think about these things genuinely. He doesn't. And like you said, your husband will do all these things. You feel guilty. I don't feel guilty about it, but I get mad that he doesn't just
Read your mind.
We make sandwiches every day. Why do I have to tell you all the time? But genuinely, I need to tell him. And so I think that I have to remind myself still, like I said, but just knowing that they're going to help you, you just have to approach it in the right way and ask and delegate to
Right.
them.
Yeah, I recognize.
Well,
Go ahead,
oh,
Jenny.
sorry.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Well, I was just going to say the other part of it is that you struggle if they're the main breadwinner. In my case, my husband is, and CEO of a large company, and so I think, are these tasks below him? And that is,
That's the
I know
wrong
that's
mindset.
a
That's the wrong
ridiculous-
mindset.
Right. That's a ridiculous comment, but I'm thinking, well, it's my job as, you know, the boss and manager of our family to be doing this. So then I've always struggled with feeling like it's failure if I'm asking for help, right? That's
Yeah.
a me thing, character flaw.
I think that one of the best mindset flips that, thank God, happened a long time ago for me is, I don't even know who put it into my brain, but now I hear it all the time, is like, okay, what are some tasks that if I didn't have to do them, I would have time to do the things that fill me up, like bring me joy. And it turns out to be things like, you know, cleaning. I never really did landscaping, but it could be like landscaping, or it could be these kinds of menial things that have to happen. And then I had to adopt the mindset that when I take my money, right, and I pay it to somebody who's cleaning my house, I'm freeing myself up to do something that fills me with joy, and I'm providing this person a job.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And so I started to kind of think differently. Like, I'm being I said asshole. I'm being an asshole if I think I'm so, you know, it's so important that I do every single thing, instead of being a blessing by saying, okay, I recognize in myself that I'm just determined. It's not below me. It's just, I've just determined I have other things that can bring me joy, and I'm going to bless this person over here who needs to make money, and that's the way they choose to make money.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to look at it, but I wonder how much is too much in blessing others, because I have a cleaner. I have all these people that do things for me.
Oh,
and
yeah. It's not too much. I hire a girl to help pick up some of my kids from school and get them from place to place, because that right there, a taxi cab driver, and it blesses her because she doesn't mind doing it and makes the money, and it blesses me because that stuff makes me nuts.
And I always say this, but it's like my memories growing up are so great with the people that helped my mom and dad out. So don't always think that, because otherwise I get in the car and sometimes I'm mad. So they want a fun younger person. That's great. I'm looking for one right now. I actually got 3 texts last night from young girls that want to help me out. I was like, yes. So excited.
Well, that is the blessing. Yeah, that does bless them too. So.
It blesses them. It totally does. It doesn't discount you at all.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the challenge, is figuring out, and honestly modeling for my kids what, how to manage the career part, and regardless of whether or not you're the primary or you're taking the quote unquote back seat, that you have space there.
Yeah, I think that the other thing to model for your kids is they know if we as moms, if we are begrudgingly going through certain things, they know it. right? My kids know it if I'm trying to force myself to do something that absolutely doesn't bring me any joy whatsoever. And so why even model that for them? And I'm certainly not saying you don't, hang out with your kids and love on your kids and spend time with your kids. I just think they know that everyone's different. And like my kids know that I am not a typical mom. They can look at other moms and go, yeah, she bakes and she does this and she does crafts and she whatever. And they're okay with it because they don't have this mindset of every mom has to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. My kids actually joke about my cooking, which is really, really awful. I view cooking as just like, putting food on the table to keep their bodies going. Like I'm not gourmet.
Same.
I'm not,
we all share this.
I have a saying, and my kids hate it, but I say it'll make a turd. In other words, I put on the table is good for my sustenance, and it will make a turd. It's good enough because I do not like cooking at all. So
it's
my
so
daughter,
hard.
thankfully, has.
I'm about to change your life. I want you to look something up. I think it's called trifecta. I think what it's called is trifecta, and they're like the most delicious prepackaged dinners that come frozen, and my kids love them. Like they love them, and they're so delicious and nutritious. And trifecta. I think it's called trifecta.
Trifecta.
I think so.
I'll have to try it. I've tried the other ones. I'm blanking out the names right now. The thing that bothers me about them, and I'm not super green and all of that, but the packaging is insane.
It is. It's true.
I can't.
I got over it.
I was gonna say I'd rather my kids have a crappy meal than hurt the environment. I guess.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Oh my gosh, this has been the best topic. I am 100% sure that so many women just stuff these thoughts into, they stuff them inside of themselves, and they feel guilty for even saying things out loud that are, things that they're feeling, thinking that it's just wrong to feel these things. So this has been absolutely a spectacular episode, and I thank you so much for your transparency.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Thank you guys.
Bye, Jenny.